Hello, Falcons fans. Welcome to Mock Draft 2.0 on J. Mike's Missives. I am J. Michael Moore, and we're going to cut right to the chase this week, and we're going to introduce the Falcons pick at number 19, keeping in mind that the whole goal for this mock draft series, as I explain every week, is to throw out some names, generate some discussion. This year, it seems like more names are going to come out of left field just because there are less pressing needs for the Atlanta Falcons, especially after the signing of Dante Robinson, the best corner on the free agent market. That changes the draft a little bit. So we're going to really kind of take a different approach here moving forward as we try to set that discussion bar even higher to say, hey, what if? I really wish I could go through and try to trade the pick and map out something like that for you, because that is indeed an option for the Atlanta Falcons this year, since they don't have a second-round pick, perhaps stockpiling picks on the back end. But that just gets way too complicated, and we don't have time, or I don't have the voice to talk through it in a series of YouTube videos. So we're going to talk about the Falcons pick first, and then I'll highlight a few other picks in my mock draft that you're no doubt looking at on the blog right now. Falcons pick at number 19, Florida center Maurkice Pouncey. Now again, don't go too crazy just yet. I know it's an offensive lineman. It's a position that might not necessarily be of need. However, we do have guys like Steve Weish, other experts who I've talked to, said definitely offensive line's a spot where the Falcons are going to want to get depth in this draft. Well, why do you take that guy in the first round? Well, D. Orlando Ledbetter, the AJC, blogged about this a little earlier this offseason, made some good points. I think basically it's, if you're of the opinion, if you're a fan, if you look at this and say, you know what, the team has a lot of things in place, let's draft the best player available, let's draft for the future. And that's really what good teams do for the NFL draft. It's not necessarily who can help you right away. That's great. But you want to look ahead 1, 2, 3 years down the road. Now, Pouncey is such a remarkable talent, good, solid player all around. He's going to go a little higher in the draft, so you might have to take that leap a little quicker. So, again, I admit this one's a little bit out of left field. I'm curious to see what fans have to say about this selection. Maybe, again, because it's been floated around there on the internet. That's why I wanted to go ahead and bring it up and put it in my draft. So let me know what you think about this selection, because that's going to be a driving force moving forward for all of the mock drafts. So again, this pick more so for the future. Todd McClure, of course, is still returning starter. All starters are returning on the offensive line. But when you get to a point like Thomas Dimitroff wants to get, quote, build through the draft, these are sometimes the picks you're going to have to make. I'll take a look at the other picks here. Top of the draft didn't change that much. Sam Bradford's still number 1 of the Rams. I read a report from John McClain of the Houston Chronicle today, in fact, that if Bradford does well in his personal workouts, he might go ahead and solidify that spot for him. But again, it's not a very deep quarterback draft, so we'll have to see where the St. Louis Rams want to go from there. Sue again at Detroit. I think a lot of teams would want to get their hands on him. One change up toward the top, Eric Berry going to Kansas City. I think that's a team that is going to try to get the safest player available, because they have a long rebuilding effort ahead of them. I shouldn't say long in terms of time-wise. They have a lot of different players that they need to address, different positions that they need to address. And reporters I've talked to says Eric Berry may be one of the safest top 5 draft picks of the last 10 years. A very consistent, very solid player. One change toward the middle of the first round, Denver Broncos. You don't hear a lot these days about Brandon Marshall and if he will be traded or what the team is looking to do. But because there is that discussion, went ahead and put Dez Bryant, wide receiver from Oklahoma State, in that spot. Still don't think the Broncos would be encouraged to pass up on one of the best defensive players available as they continue to retool their defense. So we'll have to see what they end up doing at that position. But Dez Bryant right now, just because there is that uncertainty about what the future of Brandon Marshall in Denver may be. Should also take this time to go ahead and jump down to the bottom of the draft and mention another division opponent, the Falcons' biggest rival perhaps in the NFC South, the New Orleans Saints. Carlos Dunlap of Florida, defensive end. It could be really any defensive end, best defensive end available for the New Orleans Saints. That defense really probably needs to perk up its aggressiveness even more along the defensive line, get some better production around there, get younger there. So I would look for the Saints to address that side of the ball, particularly on defensive end. We'll go back from the bottom up Houston Texans, pick right behind the Atlanta Falcons, went ahead and stayed with Earl Thomas. They are in need of a cornerback, especially with the loss of Dante Robinson. The player that a lot of people have going to the Falcons much higher than number 24 in Philadelphia is Sean Weatherspoon. And I will mention him in the mock draft a little later on because he is such a popular pick right now. Everybody's talking about him. I don't want to pile on him. So he will be thrown into the mix a little later. We've got 4 more mock drafts to go where I'll introduce a different topic each week and a different player each week. So Sean Weatherspoon fans, calm down. I'm not a Spoon hater, as some people on the Falcons message board said. Definitely like his game, but we will mention him in a later version of the mock draft. Speaking of which, I probably need to go ahead and start making early notes on that. So everyone take care. We'll see you next Wednesday for mock draft version 3.0.